I want to talk about Brawl Stars. I know I've been talking about One Piece lately because I've been absolutely loving this show, right? Or anime. Sorry, I had to close out of something on my computer. But anyways, I want to talk about Brawl Stars, okay? For starters, I just want to say Brawl Stars is very amazing to play with, right? Like it's one of those like games where I feel like it's very underrated for absolutely no reason sometimes. Where because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm gonna be honest with all of you. Brawl Stars is one of those games where, it deserves a lot more love than it already has. Obviously, I'm pretty sure it has $29 million. I think it reached like $29 million in a certain month. I think it was like last month or even then, right? But keep in mind, I feel like Brawl Stars people should play more often, and I suggest this a lot more for people. I know people like Kairos probably says, hey, you should probably not play this if you don't want to upgrade, if you want to have a max level account right off the bat. And here's the thing, Brawl Stars is just one of those games where eventually one day, you'll have max level, characters, but at some point in time, because of the brawlers and all these stuff, you won't be able to have max level accounts, right? Only people who can probably spend a ton of money or battle pass or something like this, eventually they're going to have, a max level, account. But even then, when it comes with regular players, this game doesn't really have a lot of max level account, but just more of, how much brawlers can you hit max level within a year? Or not me, but I had a friend who started this, entire journey of Brawl Stars, okay, during the Buffy's update. I did start free to play almost a year ago, but my example isn't the greatest example because his example is absolutely amazing than mine. Because the thing with his is, first of all, it's newer, but at the same time, he has like 43 brawlers, and he literally lasted a few months just playing this game for absolutely no reason but the Buffy's came out. Like literally, he said, "Oh, I haven't played this game in such a long time. Let's play it." Brawl Stars came out with 100 brawlers, and boom, it was like an insane reaction of him. I wasn't actually expecting him till this day playing this game, but overall, he has like 43 different brawlers. He has 10 different brawlers at his max level, and his is not technically free to play. He did purchase the battle pass like 2 times, but even then, he still has a lot of brawlers and a lot of things that could probably play with. Even then, I do think this game is very, very, very free to play friendly, but at the same time pay to win friendly. And also, it kind of just makes it like pay to progress, if that makes sense, or pay to max or something like that, where you just pay something just to try to get max level or stuff like that. And in reality, when it comes with Brawl Stars, I don't think you'll ever get there. It's just like the core foundation of the game, I guess. And I don't really like that, in my opinion. But, I don't think you can ever get to max level. There's going to be a certain time where you will have to spend money if you want to get max level. But I do think this game has so much to offer, to the point, even if you don't get max level, it's not like Clash Royale where you'll get nothing max level because you have to, upgrade one deck at a time for probably, a year or something. You upgrade one deck and then you go on to the next one. And you know what I'm saying? Until it just gets boring and overwhelming. And it's just like, why am I doing this? I will say, I do generally think that Brawl Stars changed for the past, 8 years, 10 years now. I played this game ever since day one when it first launched. It is an absolute amazing game out there. I'm not gonna lie. And I do generally like it. I mean, I remember when it first came out and everybody was using the same brawlers, right? It was like 20 brawlers or something like that. And everybody was using the same exact brawlers. You load in a match, you'll see Bull. You'll load in a match, you'll see Dynamite, you'll load in, you know what I'm saying? You'll see a whole bunch of like the same exact brawlers. Nowadays, it's not that case. One moment you could see Doug, the next moment it's Lou, the next moment is Jesse, the next moment is, a brawler you haven't heard before, to the point where they literally have 100 brawlers out there, and I can't even memorize 100 names, so I cannot remember 100 brawlers, you know what I'm saying? But it is actually, amazing. Where you could just see a whole bunch of characters, fighting and just destroying and whatever, and instead of like the same exact characters that like people would probably go ahead and try to, get and stuff like that. But anyways, I do generally think that Brawl Stars is super awesome, and I do generally think that this game has improved for such a long time. I do think that like there probably should be some game modes that should probably come out. I miss the robot game mode. In my opinion, that was my favorite game mode. I know a lot of people hated that game mode, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I absolutely do love that game mode 100%, no matter what. And there is one specific reason why, and that was because I just kept winning. And this is one of those game modes where it's like actually easy and kind of fun, you know? Except like I think 2 or 3 years ago, that game mode just got destroyed, right? It was like, bye, you're gonna be playing something else than this robot game mode, which kind of sucks. And I remember like us, I think like getting nails or stuff like that, and just the more nails that we have, the bigger and the better robots that we get. And I remember, I think I hit like 30 or 40 nails or something like that in one match. I don't know, it was an insane amount of nails. I'm probably over exaggerating. It was probably like 23 or something, but it was still so much to the point where the other teammates couldn't even like figure out what the hell happened. It's like, why in the world did he get so much nails? And then a giant robot just pops in and he goes, okay, you're destroyed. The end. But I do generally think that Brawl Stars has changed in such a way. I mean, I do hate the whole, or not, I like to call it mini events, or like little tiny, special events that happens like, maybe once a year or something. I think now they collabed with anime and football. I don't really like that, and simply because sometimes it does take a while trying to figure out how to relearn this game and stuff like that. I remember the Buzz Lightyear event. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed Godzilla and stuff like that. But the fact that it was limited, it just felt very boring and bland. And I remember me making a video, and this comment literally got deleted, but someone said, I made a video titling how a lot of these bad upgrades and a lot of these bad updates, right, kind of made Brawl Stars better in a way. And I remember me saying that even though they were bad, there were actually features that they added, tiny features that made the game better later on, right? And I don't remember exactly what I said, but I do still stand by that statement. And then I remember a comment saying how I'm pretty much glazing Brawl Stars, right? And I remember I think after I posted that video, I think like 3 or 4 months later, all of a sudden we see Brawl Stars being one of the most popular games out there, making millions of dollars. And I wanted to go back to that comment, and I was like, haha, it's winning, let's go. But I didn't do that. I was like, you know what, whatever. But anyways, I do stand by that statement, because if you really think about it, there is a lot of small features that Brawl Stars did within these tiny events that they kept adding, to the point where it actually did make this game better later on. I also like the idea of buffies, and I like the idea of a lot of these stuff that they're adding. I don't like how expensive buffies are. I don't think they're supposed to be crazy expensive. I think buffies is just one of those things where it should be 500 coins, or 500 coins and 1,000 power points or something like that. I don't think it should be that expensive to the point where you still have to grind to get buffies, because buffies kind of remind me of small features, if that makes sense, like Minecraft features where adding tiny little texture packs and stuff like this. And the reason why it reminds me so much of this is because it practically adds a lot. It practically adds a lot within a specific character or something. Let's say Edgar's Buffy. I know it's coming out, right? One of the Buffys is having a gadget where you pretty much jump on someone, and the more that you attack, I'm pretty sure, is the faster you follow. So it has some of these smaller features, but it still adds a bigger impact within this game or within this character, right? And because of that, I don't think that buffies should, cost crazy amount of money, which is a whole different topic with a whole different video. People probably agree with me or disagree with me, but overall, just that alone just pisses me off. Sorry for rambling. But even then, I do generally do like Brawl Stars. Sure, there's probably tiny, if not a lot of mistakes that they do. I mean, at the end of the day, we're human. But, when it comes with Brawl Stars and when it comes with this game, I do generally like this game. And I do generally think this will succeed for another 10 years. And the fact that they probably have 100 brawlers right now is still amazing till this day. I still wish that they added more, if that makes sense. I still do wish that they added more. But overall, hey, it's better than 50. Fun fact, I used to remember me, when like I think it was 500 trophies coming out, and so people said after you hit 500 you can't like ever go up than 500. So I remember they said that they're gonna make it up to 1,000 or something like this, and 500 trophies would, instead of like I think rank 5 or something, it would be rank 30 or something like that, if you guys remember what I'm talking about. But anyways, I remember that video came out like in 2019 where they reworked a lot of the trophies, and I remember me like talking to myself 3 or 4 hours, just me talking to myself, and I said something, and I want to mention this in this video. I said something, and it literally, one more thing, I literally didn't even realize what I said until, the 1,000 trophy update came out with the procedures and stuff like this. And I said, I do feel like Brawl Stars one day, and again, this is in my head, I was like, I do feel like Brawl Stars one day is gonna be like 3,000 trophies or something like that. And oh my god, I just spit everywhere. But you know what I'm saying? Like 3,000 trophies, right? And I was like, in my head, I was like, bro, I think Brawl Stars, I am generally thinking that Brawl Stars, this game could probably have more than 1,000 trophies. And in my head, I was like, what if they had 2,000 or 3,000? And then I kind of just joked around and I said, maybe one day we're going to see Brawl Stars for one brawler, 3,000 trophies. And like, max trophies could be 1,000,000 or something, I don't know, right? But I kind of did joke around about that. And I mean, looking back at 2026, I was right, kind of right, because I did say 1,000,000. I remember me just saying I can see 1,000,000 trophies max level, but I was kind of right. But I was like, hey, I think that's pretty cool. Also, what do you think about the trophy things? I mean, I do think that it became more casual after the 1,000 trophies, and I do think it's a little bit still harder to get to 1,000, but not as hard as it was back then, because back then it was like 500, and 500 you could probably get like within a few matches, to be honest. And as soon as it hit 500, it actually became harder to even hit 1,000, even though, it wasn't supposed to be as hard, if that makes sense. But it was super hard to get 1,000 trophies, to the point where, people probably lose around the 800 mark or something like that. And people could play 3-4 hours and just to get 900 or 1,000. At least that's how I experienced it, and same thing with my friends. Which is still pretty crazy to me. I mean, if you really think about, Brawl Stars and like, yeah, I don't know. But like, what do you think of this game? And other than that, that's pretty much it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.